Just like we all predicted in the preseason, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are atop the ACC standings.
You're talking ball with the ACC squad. From Florida State to North Carolina, from Syracuse to Miami, and from NC State to California, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming ACC weekend. Hang on, it could get loud, it could get heated, and it will definitely be fun. Squad up, you're part of the ACC squad.
And not only is Brent Key's Ramblin' Wreck atop the ACC, a little over halfway through the season, but they're also in the top 10. Number 7 in the top 10 for the first time since 1966. Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making the ACC squad your first listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. I am Alex Dono from Locked On Canes, and I come to you humbled today after Miami's first loss, which came at the hands of Dalton Pence's Louisville Cardinals. He hosts Locked On Louisville. We got Jackson Holzer from Locked On Syracuse, Isaac Shade from Locked On Tar Heels. Don't worry, basketball season's coming up, Isaac. And we got Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. And Kenton, I'll let you buy the first round on this one because you and I have we've been high, not to say we predicted them to win the ACC. That still hasn't happened yet. But you and I have both been high on Brent Key's Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. But we've gotten some comments, and I think they're deserved, from some Georgia Tech fans that we're not talking about their team enough. And you know what? We should be talking about them more because they have been so far arguably the most consistent team in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
I want to take it a step further than that, Dono. We've also got comments saying Georgia Tech's one of the worst teams in the league in creating turnovers. What are you all talking about? Quick question, everybody. What was the play that completely turned that game upside down on its head? I believe it was a forced fumble recovery for 6. Scoop and score the other way.
Red zone turnover.
If only Dono and I know a little about ball. And because we know a little about ball, this is the reason both of us said this is a dark horse team to watch out for. If they can maintain relative health at a few key positions, they can be right here at the end. What is surprising to me is they have won every single game that they've played, and you can talk about their winning ugly, you can talk about their playing down, you can cut it, slice it however you want. There's a big old goose egg in that loss column, okay? And this team is getting better, they're getting more confident, and everybody's talking about their offensive coordinator as one of the hottest names in this coaching carousel. But I'll tell you what, defensively, they've done a hell of a job. They've done a phenomenal job week in and week out, week after week. And again, they do another great job on Darian Minson, one of the most high-powered offenses in this league. A team that, again, did not have a turnover 3 straight games in a row. I believe all 3 were against ACC opponents, if I'm not mistaken. If not, I know they're all against FBS teams. Either way you cut or slice it, that was a Duke offense that was rolling. And what did Georgia Tech do to them? They hobbled them a little bit. They slowed them down. They condensed the game. They ran the ball effectively, and they took the ball out of Mintz's hands. And when he had it, it was like, either score right now or we're going to take another 8 minutes off the clock, buddy. So hell of a job by Georgia Tech. They've been doing a great job all season, and the ACC is theirs to lose right now. So Key and company, y'all have the key to winning the ACC. Just play your best football from this point forward because they'll be favored in almost every game going forward. Every game in the ACC, Georgia game, you could lose that and still be ACC champs.
Hey, can I pose a scenario to you all in the Georgia Tech vein?
Let's do it.
What if I told you there was a team that was 16th in the nation, is undefeated in the ACC, and their remaining schedule is at Carolina, at Cal, hosting Wake, at Duke, and hosting Virginia Tech? What are the odds in your mind that said football team goes undefeated the rest of the way? And it ain't Georgia Tech, obviously.
Pretty good.
Talking about Virginia?
I'm talking about the Virginia Cavaliers.
Yeah.
We're looking at a real-world scenario where Georgia Tech and Virginia is an ACC championship game that we are all watching that doesn't include Miami or Louisville or Clemson or anyone else. That is a possibility that is on the table.
Good luck with the TV ratings for that one.
I think it's a very legitimate possibility that we're staring at, boys.
And one of those teams would be essentially guaranteed a playoff berth. I know technically it's not a guarantee, but for all intents and purposes, they would be guaranteed a playoff.
Georgia Tech is 7th in the nation. If they don't lose, it's not like they're going to fall.
Georgia Tech.
My question with Georgia Tech, though, with where they're at is, so if they win out the ACC, then they're a lock for the college football playoff no matter what.
Right.
If they were to, let's say, lose a game in the ACC and lose to Georgia, would they get in at large, even if they're not in the conference title game at 7-1?
I don't think they get in 10-2 at large. I think there's a scenario where a team like Miami or Louisville, if they go 11-1, even if they don't play in the ACC championship game, I feel like one of those teams would slide in front of what would then be a 10-3 Georgia Tech in that scenario.
Dono, I don't think any 10-2 ACC team is getting in at large. I think that's kind of
it. You know,
I'm sorry,
right? It did last year. It happened with Miami. They weren't going to get in.
As an at large,
a 10-2 at large with what we've seen out of the SEC and Big Ten this year. To say a 10-2 at large ACC team doesn't get in, there would be riots in the streets. The SEC,
they don't care about riots in the streets.
They don't care.
A couple years ago, they didn't allow Florida State in, and they were undefeated.
It depends on who it is, first of all. Miami, I think, is the one team that you could say, you know what, right now, you maybe can make a case for it. But the only way I see a two-loss ACC team making it would be, let's say, one of the teams that makes the conference championship game loses that game. Then you have a better case. I just don't see an at-large two-loss team making it, considering there could be some more teams in the ACC with only one loss that end up being an at-large team. So it depends on how many teams from the ACC you think are going to make it in the college football playoff. And I just don't see it. It's going to be very context specific to where you just have to hope for a ton of pandemonium.
Yeah.
Well, if you're talking about the context of there will be multiple one-loss ACC teams, I understand what you're saying. Okay, I can get behind that. But I'm saying if our champion is whatever they are, one-loss undefeated, and then our runner-up is that two-loss team, that like those two losses are that's where
I
get what I'm saying? Like if you lose to Georgia, exactly. Like if Georgia Tech runs the table, loses to Georgia, loses an ACC championship,
they're still in.
That's exactly. There's no way
that's what I meant. I agree with that point there. I was from like an at-large not making the conference championship.
I was saying with Georgia Tech, if they were to lose a conference game and then lose to Georgia and they're 10-2, if for whatever reason they're not in the conference title game, I don't know if they would get in the college football playoff at large, depending on what happens against Georgia. I think that there is a world in which if they lose close, they would get a ton of respect. And they're already getting a ton of respect, but you know, we never know what the committee is actually going to do at the end of the day.
SMU barely got in.
SMU barely got in, and they should have been a lock no matter what to get in because they were in a playoff spot before the game even started.
Isn't it crazy to think SMU still has a chance to get to the ACC championship game this year?
And to my point about Virginia being undefeated, obviously SMU is, but here's the difference. Here's SMU's remaining schedule. At Wake, they should win that. Then they host Miami, at BC, host Louisville, at Cal. I guess the good thing you're looking at is the two hardest games are at home, but SMU ain't like SMU. All due apologies to the Mustang fans in the place. They ain't going undefeated in ACC.
Well, and they would probably have to win the ACC to get in because they've got two non-conference losses.
That's right.
So, like, SMU's margin for error is 0.
Yeah, they got two bad out-of-conference losses. I mean, you cannot lose to Baylor and TCU and say, I'm a playoff team, unless you mess around and win a conference, which
that's the only way. Yeah,
you know, and then that cast a whole nother line of aspersions on the ACC because, you know, when the Big Ten and the SEC beat up on each other, they're cannibalizing each other. But when Louisville beats Miami, it's because the conference is mid overall. And Miami, are they a fraudulent team?
Well, you know what's funny about that? The people that are – some of the people who are most down on Miami are Miami fans because the last 20 years has conditioned Miami fans to – if you lose a game, that one loss is going to turn into 3 or 4 losses. Like that's just what Miami fans expect at this point. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about it. I give credit to Louisville because Miami didn't just lose. Louisville went down to South Florida and won. And Jeff Brom, that was one of the more impressive play calling performances I've seen. He maximized that bye week. Meanwhile, there's a tailspin happening in Tallahassee. The Florida State Seminoles have lost 4 straight games. The fans want Mike Norvell out, but he gets a vote of confidence from the athletic director. You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of the ACC Squad. Friends, one of the tools that helps make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly Open Phone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7, and that is Quo. I love how Quo, formerly known as Open Phone, lets your team share one number and collaborate on calls and texts like a shared inbox so no customer gets left hanging. Their built-in AI agent is a game changer. It can answer after-hours calls, capture leads, and keep business moving even when you're off the clock. Whether you're a solo operator juggling everything or part of a larger team, Quo makes it easy to stay responsive and professional. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly Open Phone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/lockedoncollege. You can keep your existing number for free. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays. I've tried player props. I've even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Well, over the weekend, we had several top 10 teams fall. The first of those happened on Friday night when number 2 Miami fell 24-21 at Hard Rock Stadium to the Louisville Cardinals. And I'll let Dalton give the Louisville side of it. Like from the Miami side of it, I definitely felt that there was some complacency. I think Miami's approach to it was, we can do essentially what we've done all year. We're going to win the majority of our 11 individual matchups on the field. We don't have to get too innovative because that's not who we are or who we have to be. Whereas Jeff Brom came with a couple dozen new plays that Miami had never seen before on tape. That was something that safety Zechariah Poyser said afterwards. They punched Miami in the mouth and tuned of a quick 14-0 lead. We all saw Carson Beck's performance, 4 interceptions. By far his worst game as a Miami Hurricane so far, was forcing a lot of footballs when he did have some checkdowns available to him. Louisville's defenders made great plays on the football with those interceptions, by the way. Those were dynamite. Some of those could have gone incomplete despite the bad decisions, but they were hauling in all of them. And something that Dalton and I talked about before the game was which team is going to be sloppier, and that's not just in the tune of turnovers. That's also penalties. Miami committed 9 penalties in the game. You're not going to overcome 4 interceptions or 9 penalties. Credit to Louisville for taking the game. Miami also did their part to give it away at times, Dalton.
Yeah, I think that this game was like the epitome of the notion that games are played on grass. They're not played on paper. I'll be honest. I read all through my comments through the week, and I was told that the Louisville Cardinals stood no shot unless Miami forfeited that game. I was told that Louisville wasn't going to score touchdowns. If they got to 24 points, it was 8 field goals. And on defense, I was told that Louisville was going up against the most physical team that they were going to see, and they would have no answer for Carson Beck. They would have no ability to stop the Miami rushing attack. And all of those predictions aged like a year-old bottle of milk at this point. I will say this. Shout out to some of your viewers. They gave me a little bit of credit. Look, I predicted a Miami victory. I thought that Miami was going to win this game because up to that point, I hadn't seen Louisville put it all together. Inconsistency was the name of the game, and I was not really banking on the first showing of consistency being against their toughest test. And Jeff Brom, I apologize. I wasn't familiar with your game. Or maybe I was, but I just forgot about it. So that's my bad. He's 4-0 against AP top 5 teams because he gets his teams up for these types of games, and he just gets into his bag coaching. Dono, you mentioned it. He brought out some new plays. He faked a field goal on the first drive. They gave some looks that we had not seen, to the point to where I'm looking at my friends like, dude, where has this team been? So it's awesome to see this. It's one of those types of wins that just reconfirms that Jeff Brom is one of, if not the best head coach in the ACC. And I truly believe that. So great win, great ability to allow your season outlook to do a complete 180 now. But hey, moving forward in 6 games where you're going to be favored to likely win all of them, you got to show that consistency. So great showing down in Miami with your back against the wall. Loved what I saw from the offense. Loved what I saw from the defense, especially being able to, disguise coverage, being able to get pressure to Carson Beck. But shout out to Chef Brom. Big game Brom was in full effect on Friday night.
And you know who else had a good showing today? Is Dalton's internet, keeping him in here just for such a time as this.
As soon as he talks about the internet, his internet glitches up. I see what you did there. I'm going to tell you this, though. We got to shout out Brown. We got to shout out Dalton's internet. We also got to shout out that defense, okay? Yeah. I mean, Louisville's defense absolutely came to play in a spectacular fashion, and we knew that front 7 was going to be who they have been all year. But to me, that was going to be a close matchup between the offensive line and Louisville's defensive line. Louisville's defensive line said, hey, I don't know who y'all been blocking in practice. Y'all must not be doing enough ones versus ones, because we got something for y'all boys. That, they came in droves all night long. It was not just about Carson Beck missing some throws or making bad reads. It was also about the fact that this was the most uncomfortable I've seen him in the pocket all year. Constantly having to move, constantly having to kind of get off his spot a little bit. And, it's not a knock on Carson Beck, because this is every quarterback. If you move a quarterback off his spot, if you move him off his rhythm, you've disrupted the offense. The offense is all offenses that run well. It's like a good song. It's like everybody's on beat. You hit the chords, you hit the notes when you're supposed to hit them. And a really great defense is like that one kid that plays triangle and band, and he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He's just coming in, ding, 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 and throwing you all off. And that's exactly what Louisville was doing. Like Dalton said, disguising coverages, bringing pressure when you are not expecting, and all those types of things. They played at a very high level defensively. Yes, Coach Big Game Brown did come out. Yes, the fake on the first drive absolutely set the tone for, hey, we're not here to mess around. We're here to win a ball game. But the defense bought it all night long up until the 4th turnover at the end of the game.
Yeah, no, I think you can go ahead, Dalton.
I think that Dono's mentioned it, and I listened to his show on Monday, and he brought up a point to where it was like I almost kind of questioned the adjustments that the Miami coaching staff did not make. The offensive coordinator, is his name Shannon Dawson? Is that his name, Dono? I feel like there wasn't a commitment to running the football early in series, and it got Miami behind the sticks to where when they did run the ball, boom, you're in 3rd and long. And then defensively, their pressure win percentage was astronomical. Ruben Bain was winning his reps. The issue is that Miller Moss got it out in under 2.5 seconds so often, and it seemed like Miami just did not make an adjustment all night long, to the point to where you're running crossing routes all game long and guys are wide open, and he's hitting guys wide open because it felt like a chess game where Miami's, no pun intended, their internet connection went out and they weren't able to make that corresponding move, Dono.
Yeah, it was, and I went over some of the film, and it was it was some pretty shocking stuff defensively, stuff that we haven't seen from Miami so far this year. And like, I give the defense some credit because they did buckle down for large portions of that game. They started very poorly, they finished poorly because they did allow another long Chris Bell touchdown on a crossing pattern late in the game. But for times the defense was playing well enough to win. The offense wasn't answering the call, but the gap integrity was really bad. Like, it was glaring on some of the big runs that Isaac Brown had, where just nobody had an angle on him. And credit to Isaac Brown, because he looked he looked like last year's Isaac Brown all over again. I think for him getting healthy was probably a big part of that. He looked sensational. And there was just a lot of, I thought, miscommunication in the back end of the defense for Miami. So it was the type of film I'm sure DC Corey Heatherman had a lot of notes jotted down to go over this week. But it was, and I think a lot of it was really off balance. Like Louisville's offense put Miami's defense off balance in a way I hadn't seen all year.
Donna, let me ask you this. Did you see things on Friday night that gave you pause and concern season long? Or is it just like, it's a weird Friday night in the ACC. You chalk it up, you learn from it, and you move on?
That's the $1 trillion question that every Miami fan is debating, just that, because people have seen it before with this team. I mean, they started 9-0 last year, and then they lost 3 out of their final 4 games, including the bowl game. So I think everyone is wondering that. Are they going to be able to adjust midseason now that teams have film on them? There was definitely some concerning stuff, Isaac, to answer your question. Miami has this obsession with only running between the guards. Like there's nothing hardly outside of a touchdown that they scored on a Malachi Toney, who's not a running back. He's a receiver, very fast, end around, which worked. But Miami doesn't run outside the tackles hardly ever. I think that's something they need to employ a little bit more of. There was this weird insistence on going back to wide receiver screens all over again when a lot of them were getting blown up. So I thought the play calling was pretty poor with the defensive stuff. I feel like it's more correctable. I know defense was Miami's Achilles heel last year, but the personnel and the philosophy is so different. Like I feel like the defense is probably a little bit more fixable moving forward, but there's definitely some stuff on offense, and I think some of it can be cured by just a little bit more variety in like the play design of the running plays. Because also, I did think that the awful game that Beck had is partially correctable. I don't expect, Miami's offensive line is not going to face a defensive line that good again all season, right? I mean, they've already had their biggest battles when it comes to D-line versus O-line. So you expect the protection to be more consistent. And, I think that Carson Beck, his decision-making, you would think it's correctable because he's processed games well up until he just seemed intent on taking the kill shots. So some of it is long-term concerning. I think that this is going to force Miami to be a little bit more innovative on offense, and I know a lot of people have their thoughts about Mario Cristobal not being willing to innovate, but for Cristobal and Dawson, I think they're going to have to be because if you want to make it into a postseason run, you're going to face other teams that are really good. So I think you have to be ready to innovate a little bit more. So it's a mixed bag, and a lot of it, of course, coming off a loss. Attitude of your players. I mean, Florida State is a way better team than what we've seen, losing 4 consecutive conference games. So sometimes when you lose, bad mentalities do creep in. So some of it's going to be on the locker room and the leadership to really respond to it. So there's some non-football components to this as well. But in terms of the football components, I think some of it is easily fixable. Some of it's going to take more effort to fix.
I don't think the sky should be falling for Miami just yet. Like, I don't think I get the past trauma. Trust me, I get past trauma all the time when it comes to this team and when it comes to any sports team you can think of. But with Miami, the way to look at it is you can make an argument that they easily could have won the game. And Carson Beck had 4 turnovers. How often is he going to have 4 turnovers? Not often. You lost the game to a good team at home by 3 points because your quarterback turned the ball over 4 times, whether it was his fault or not, doesn't matter. He has 4 turnovers, and Louisville had 1 turnover. So sometimes it's as simple as, look, we shot ourselves in the foot too much, and it came back to bite us. And Louisville's a good team. They were able to take advantage of it, and they won. Now, going forward for Miami, the issue is their margin for error at this point is not very high. You basically got to become Notre Dame fans for the rest of the season. You can't have Notre Dame have any sort of slip up because you need that win to hold up. Because other than that, you look at the rest of Miami's schedule and you look at some of the wins they have. Yeah, they could blow a team out here or there, but now all of a sudden beating Florida State is not impressive at all. Beating the Florida Gators is not impressive at all. Nobody cares that Miami beat USF. So
I don't know. USF's on track to make the playoffs, Jack. Actually, that's a quality win.
Because they're the representative in the group of 5.
Especially now that Memphis
Nobody
lost.
is actually going to give Miami a lot of credit for that win. come
I
committee
think
time.
if
you're competing
USF
for an
goes
at-large.
12-1 and gets into the playoff, I think that's one you look at as a quality.
I
win.
don't think that's going to be a resume building win for them. Like, we could sit here and argue that it should, but
Are you saying is it a resume negative? Are you saying that?
I don't think it's a resume neutral. It's I don't think it's I think they'll look at it and say, okay, that was your second best win. What was your third?
What would South Florida do in the ACC this year? Tell me that.
I don't know what they would do. Maybe 8 wins. I don't know.
But
But we already know how the committee operates. They never are going to give the ACC a lot of credit. So you think they're going to all of a sudden turn around and say, hey, Miami, we know that last year you were 10-2 at large with the number 1 pick in the draft and still not going to give them an at-large bid. And now this time around, when their second best win would be against USF, that now all of a sudden they're going to flip-flop and say, we'll give you the respect that you deserve. Like, I just don't see it. It's not about whether USF is good or not. I'm trying to put myself in the eyes of the committee and say, I don't think they're going to give them a lot of respect.
Well, look at Indiana last year. Indiana didn't have a signature win by any means, but their one loss was to a good Ohio State team. If Miami goes 11-1 and their losses to a Louisville team that's, knock on wood, going to stay par for the course and win at least 10 games, you're not leaving an 11-1 Miami team.
No, you're 100% right. I'm just saying, I think Miami, it's fine right now, but you don't get to trip up again for the rest of the season.
I agree.
If you lose again, your season is very much in jeopardy as far as going to the college.
In fact, because not all 10-2 resumes are created equal.
Exactly.
At this point, it would have been better for Miami to have lost the Notre Dame game than if they were to lose another ACC game, because you've got and obviously SMU is turning their season around. It's still a 2-loss team right now. On the road at Pitt at the end of the year. Pitt's playing good football, but Pitt's not a juggernaut on paper. They got Syracuse. I wish Jackson Syracuse Orange was doing a little bit better right now for the resume. NC State. What's that?
Is Steve Angeli playing in that game?
I mean, yeah, it's what a turnaround, what a negative it's been not having him there. But no, Miami can't afford to lose another game. Like if they finished the season 10-2 and one of the losses was to Notre Dame, they might get in with that. But if you finish 10-2 with your other loss being one of these remaining ACC games, it's not going to be good enough.
Hey, question. We were talking about ACC Coach of the Year. Does this solidly put Brom in that conversation now? I feel like it does.
I think
I feel like it does.
Yeah.
It has to. I think that Mario and all the cachet that he had built up here, it's going to be tough. It's looking like it's going to be Key, Elliott, or Brom, depending on how the rest of this season goes. Key is obviously first place. I mean, his team's undefeated and top 5 for the first time since 1966.
Do you think they just give it to whoever wins the ACC? Yeah. Do you think that's just it's going to be like the easy cop? I was like, hey, look, you won the conference.
Well, don't they announce the awards before the ACC championship game, or is it after?
I'm not sure.
Is it after? Okay.
While I'm reading the next commercial, somebody Google that. Ask Gemini or whoever you need to ask.
We can look at last year's. Yeah.
Well, because I do want to take a look at coaching, because there's a lot of unhappy folks in Tallahassee right now with their coaching situation. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on the ACC squad. Folks, we're also brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda. Move and be moved. Thank you for making the ACC squad your first listen. For your next listen, check out our other shows. Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone host Locked On Wolfpack. Isaac Shade on Locked On Tar Heels and Locked On College Basketball. Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse. Dalton Pence, Locked On Louisville. Brian Smith could not be here with us on this squad episode. He's probably he's updating his hot board for next Florida State head coach. But that change, guys, apparently will not be made this season. Florida State Athletic Director Michael Alford put out the dreaded vote of confidence for Mike Norvell. Now, The language of that statement certainly implies that the coaching change could happen at the end of the season, but it's not happening in season. And ultimately, this is $100 million decision that's being made, because you see the numbers that are thrown around there. Remember, Mike Norvell got a big extension a couple of off seasons ago when he was linked to the Alabama job when that was open. So, his agent did a nice job negotiating his new deal to buy out Mike Norvell and his top staff members $60 million plus, to bring in a new coaching staff. It's another 8-figure deal. So they're throwing out numbers like $100 million plus to make this coaching change. So Florida State's got to think long and hard about how to implement this, guys. But anyone can jump in here on this point. Is it possible for them to turn this around with Mike Norvell, or does this run just negatively impact booster support, fan support, and recruiting so much that there's no turning back for him?
I mean, I don't think that regardless of what you think about Mike Norvell potentially next year, I'm not sure if Florida State has the ability to sit around and wait, because, and I'll make this point here in a second, they're 3-4. They've lost their last 4. You would think, well, they've got a relatively favorable schedule with Wake, Clemson, Virginia Tech, NC State, and Florida. But don't forget, they just lost to Stanford, a Stanford team that, A, is not really all that good, and B, they're extremely injured. I mean, you're playing the hospital squad, so to speak.
I thought Andrew Luck was going to suit up the other night.
Yeah, I mean, Frank Reich is taking snaps at wide receiver. But another thing, this is another aspect of this, and I had a conversation about LSU in the same light. With all of these openings popping up already, and you've got Penn State, Florida, Arkansas, all these jobs that are popping up, can you afford to wait another year when the quote-unquote top prizes in college football that are, the coaches that are going to get these top jobs, can you afford to wait and let these guys go elsewhere? And I'm okay with them giving him the vote of confidence through the rest of the season. Now, things can change on a whim, but I just don't see, after what happened last year and now this season, the wheels have fallen off the bus. I just don't know how you could look in the mirror and say, yeah, you know what? Mike Norvell is the guy to lead the Florida State program back to prominence. I can't see it.
I think the biggest thing that we're missing, you said the school can't afford to keep him. Can they afford to replace him? Like, we're talking about afford as in the support of all these people and all that people. The reality is the boosters only have but so much money. Like, we like to think that, oh, yeah, it's the college arms race and the money's going to keep increasing. Sure, it's going to increase over the years. Let's talk about the finances of Florida State for just a quick second here. Which school were the ones that spent all that money on lawyers to figure out a loophole to get out of the ACC? Was Florida State one of those or no?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Which school recently did the most expensive remodeling of their stadium in America? I'm pretty sure, but I know for a fact in the ACC conference this last season, was that the Noles as well?
Yep.
They were already looking at getting some outside investments from either private equity, or they were going to pull a Mike Lombardi and get on that plane and go over there and talk to the Saudis real quick and say, hey, what we got going on? Well, talk to me, Prince. Talk to me, Royal Prince. Throw me some Skrilla. I need some paper. Give me a little loan. But the worst part about it is they're between a rock and a hard place, because if you keep them, you know that all of this fan attendance is going to drop, the interest is going to drop, the intrigue is going to drop and all that. But if you get rid of him, where are you getting the money? Because forget all the rest. Forget all of the other stuff about how valuable is a job in comparison to Penn State, in comparison to Florida, in comparison to all these other things. Let's talk strictly about this. How much money will you have to pay top coach and his assistants compared to Penn State, compared to Florida, compared to some other massive jobs that we've heard are on the verge of, that we cannot talk about publicly, but we've heard are on the verge of potentially being open as well? Where do you line up in those places. Because as much as we say, oh, coaches will go to the best situation, coach is going to follow the money just like everybody else. Coach is going to go where they get paid just like everybody else. Fran Brown ain't going to be at Syracuse too much. Nah, I'm joking. But seriously,
why are you bringing Fran Brown into this?
Crazy.
But seriously,
I was going along with you. I was agreeing with you.
I'm messing with Jackson. You know I can't go a whole episode without disagree with your son.
They're going to go 4-8 this year. Who wants Fran Brown?
Fran Brown's still a high commodity, okay? Trust me. It could be worse.
I know.
It could be worse. You on the show with two guys, with a guy that's got, Bill Belichick. But in all seriousness, do they compete financially with these
Everybody's catching strays here.
This is not fair. You know what? NC State sucks, and so does Dave Doran.
Does it change your
Personal
perspective
now.
a little bit, knowing that it doesn't have to be one full lump sum, that they can pay it out over the lifetime of that contract?
Give me a Bobby Bonilla contract over here.
Honestly, that would be the greatest
So
thing
here's
they can do.
the thing. Here's the thing. That does sound good, but again, how much of that are you guaranteeing, and how much is the increase? How much are you saying? Because if you're going to pay somebody backloaded, everybody knows that if you don't understand interest and compounding, that back end is always going to be massive compared to the front end. Is Florida State willing to take that type of swing on a coach that, again, you may not be able to match a school that says, I can guarantee you what they're paying you on the back end, on the front end. Now,
KG, did you just say that back end's going to be really massive? Was that a Sir Mix-a-Lot reference there? Baby got back.
Hey,
what are we doing?
Hey, listen.
I forgot he was talking about money for a second.
Man.
See, y'all get a little freaked out on me. Okay? This has nothing to do with my preference in women. This has nothing to do with what I like outside this show. I am simply
the loaded
saying,
back end is what we're talking about on this episode.
I am simply saying, if you want to say the money is going to be towards the end of the contract, you're going to have to pay more. And again, would Florida State be comfortable doing that? And again, who do you get? Who's your guy that you could say, like, hey, I feel 1,000% comfortable paying him $40 million in a few years? You know, I just don't.
They have the opportunity to do the wildest thing and bring Billy Napier from Gainesville to Tallahassee. No, hey, here's something funny. I saw somebody put out a landing spots for Billy Napier the other day. You know who was team number 1 on the list?
Please stop. Please.
Somebody put out a list where North Carolina was the top landing spot for
Good luck.
Somehow they got worse
what's
than
Willie
Bill
Taggart
Belichick.
up to these days?
How?
What's
They
Willie
go
Taggart
from
up to these
Bill-
days?
I think he's still spending the Florida State buyout money.
That's a crazy question. Oh my God.
Well, I mean, you don't have to pay.
One of you brought out James Franklin. I mean, that might make the most sense because Penn State will pay the difference with whatever Florida State is. But Florida State could say, hey, we'll pay you $1 million a year, and Penn State's going to pay you the difference of your old contract.
Let's say you have to pay. I don't know how much, if they still owe anything off the Willie Taggart buyout, but if they do, then you can just count that as money saved and rehire him.
Yeah, I think they might. I'm not sure. Florida State fans can correct us, but I think they might still be paying Willie Taggart. I'm not 100%.
Is it backloaded
sure.
though? I thought it was just in the language. You're just paying the salary through the duration of the lifetime of the contract. I didn't think it was like you're adding anything on the back end. From what I read just a little while ago, you can basically, it's like you're paying him normally. He's just not coaching. I know that makes things a little bit tough, but if you are in immediate financial distress, not having to pay all that up front and operating with the sunken cost fallacy and understanding that keeping him would be more of a financial hit than letting him go. The truth is that they're, like Isaac said in the chat, they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. It's just you have to do whatever you can to salvage yourself to the best you can.
Look,
and
let's be honest about
this. Get the higher right, it could benefit them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a big if too, right? I mean,
yeah.
There's no guarantee. Mike Norvell was supposed to be the next big thing.
Of course.
James Franklin, as a proven commodity, I would have him every day and again in our conference. Like he immediately raises the profile of the ACC.
James Franklin gets a bad name, and I understand his reputation. Like we get it, the reputation of not winning the big games, but like it's one of those, like, go back to like your expectations of every single program and what Kenton always says about how, like, if certain programs win 8 games a year, that coach will get you you'll get a statue at that university. Like, that's literally James Franklin. Like
Yeah.
he can go to anywhere, I think, in the ACC and make that program a successful program. Is he going to bring you a national championship? As of right now, he has not proven that he can bring your team a national championship team.
Well, Bobby Bowden ain't walking through the door. KG, you got thoughts down there. I want to hear
He
it.
would give you much needed stability.
All I'm saying is this. Everybody's very high on, James Franklin, he's really good and he'll keep you where you need to be. Are we talking about the same James Franklin that just lost to UCLA and Northwestern?
That's one year.
And I hear you. In theory, we can say, oh, the talent now, the disparity ain't what it was, and every team's in for a down year every now and then. I will caution everybody with the same thing that I cautioned a certain school that's very near mine with. Sometimes the last time that we saw people is more important than the best we ever saw them at. James Franklin at his best absolutely can get you 8 wins a year, 9 wins a year, 10 wins a year. The James Franklin that we just saw was lifeless and hapless. And you cannot tell me that guy going to Florida State and producing more of what we saw this last season, if he produces anywhere near that, Florida State fans, it'll be Alfred would be run out of town. Okay, he wouldn't be allowed. They would take him out of the state of Florida, like in the book of Eli, say, and don't come back. Don't you ever come back.
I don't doubt you, but I just want to know, like, then who are you going to hire if you're Florida State? Because you're going up against the University of Florida. You're going up against Penn State.
John's going to get hired by somebody, but it might be by a school that's in that same state. If that job,
you might be competing with Missouri as well if Missouri loses Drinkwitz.
I think,
if Ole Miss loses Lane to Florida, then the Ole Miss job is open as well. So this is a crazy carousel.
I'll add one more point into this, and it kind of goes back to Kenton's point about the boosters, and I agree. I mean, there's only so much money now. FSU does have a substantial amount of alumni money and whatnot, but you also have to wonder, with the amount of money that they spent on this year's roster and the waning confidence in Mike Norvell, you wonder, okay, if your decision is to keep Norvell, how do you now turn to those same boosters that paid for this roster and say, hey, I know you forked over a lot of money for a roster that was going to be really good on paper. I need you to do it again, but hashtag trust me, bro. That's basically what you're saying because, well, I know that it flopped tremendously badly this year, but next year's completely different. There's so many different parts in this equation. That's why I feel like at the end of the day, it's going to be a decision to let him go, and it's probably going to be at the end of the year. But I just don't know if you're Florida State. I understand the commitment financially to letting him go. It's a great commitment, but this train's going nowhere but off the tracks.
Well, we'll end it on that because I think that's a very sensible point, and I want to send a huge thank you. I allowed Dalton Pence in here despite recent results on a Friday night in the ACC. Thank you, Dalton from Locked On Louisville. Thank you to Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack, Isaac Shade from Locked On Tar Heels, Jackson Holzer from Locked On Syracuse. I am Alex Dono from Locked On Canes, and we'll talk to everybody next time on another episode of the Locked On ACC Squad. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.